All right, check this out. What you're about to hear might completely shift the way you think about lead generation. Today, I'm sitting with a guy who moved to a brand new city, knew 0 people, never paid for ads, and still pulled in over 5 million in GCI in just 2.5 years. And the wild part, he built the entire thing from one platform, YouTube. Not Zillow leads, not door knocking, not cold calling, just YouTube. And he did it the right way. So if you're listening right now thinking, man, I just want a plan that actually works, this is gonna open your eyes in the best way. So Soomin, welcome to the training.
Let's go. Appreciate you having me, John.
Yeah, super excited that you're here. But before we get tactical, what was the exact moment when you realized YouTube wasn't just content, but it was actually an incredible lead generation machine for you?
I think for me, I realized YouTube was a lead gen source in the fact that I used it completely organically to be able to procure clientele for my profession, my business, which is real estate, And I think it became something much more. It's funny, but it became something much more when I started getting paid from YouTube to do it. And so once I started monetizing the channel, I couldn't believe that this platform was now paying me to be used for me to procure business for my profession. So I'm here just trying to get leads as a real estate agent for my profession and my business. Now here I am getting to a level to which the platform to which I'm using to benefit my job is now paying me to use it as a second source of income. So that's when it felt like a really inception moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, the platform to which is helping me build my business is now paying me to use their platform. And that's when I realized this is perhaps bigger than real estate. This is really the industry of content creation and be able to add value to the public so the public reciprocates that by watching your content. So I think for me, it was an epitome or an epiphany of something that was bigger than real estate, which is simply a human using a platform to connect with other humans on top of a subject.
And you shared this before. You said that when you yourself were looking for homes, the first thing that you did was go search for houses in a certain area, and that sort of sparked a light bulb for you, correct?
Yeah, I think that ultimately in life, we tend to reciprocate our own testimony or experiences. And for me, I'll give you a funny example. Like for me, I had a big problem with acne all through my, adolescent and young adult years, and I remember doing everything I possibly can. I remember they recommended Accutane, going to dermatologists, all these things. And I remember finally finding a product online that I just out of a whim said, I'll give this one a shot. And it was just some random product from this company that absolutely cleared my skin. And from that moment on, I remember I wasn't obviously being paid, but anytime this conversation would come up, I would say, guys, you have to try this product, just Google this and this is what I did. And from there, I think I've helped this company, which is kind of a mom and pop company, sell a ton of different products, right? And that just came from the reciprocity of my own testimony. So in the same breath, the idea of using YouTube to help people with their real estate, especially relocation endeavors, it was really birthed from the reciprocity of what worked for me. So you're right. Like for my wife and I, before we ended up moving from California to Texas, we spent weeks, maybe even months, a few months on YouTube every night, looking up content of anyone that would give us value on what life would be like for someone that would move over there. So by the time I got here and I got into real estate, I said, I want to give back what worked for me. I want to give back what I needed, what my wife and I really needed as far as value, information, any type of value and content. So let me just be a spirit of reciprocity. And now as a real estate agent, let me give that back, if not try to do it better than what I received.
So as someone that sold over, actually you sold 87 deals in your first 12 months in real estate. Today, I want to get a little bit tactical. If you deleted your channel today and you had to start from 0, what are the first 2 videos you'd film to rebuild momentum immediately?
I think the first video I would probably film is a connection piece that would somewhat be disguised as a real estate piece. So it might sound something like, hey, I'm going to give you the 5 reasons why I'm moving to this city. But within me creating those 5 reasons, I'm going to make those reasons pretty personal. but I'm also going to make sure I align those reasons with the reasons why people move to an area anyways. For instance, if I was going to move to a beach city, I'm going to give you my personal reasons why I like or why I'm choosing to move to this area. But likely those reasons will align to why everyone moves to these areas. Maybe it's coastal because there's beaches and surfing. Maybe it's because of the culture. Maybe it's because, obviously the ocean is there. Maybe the school districts are good. Maybe it's because they have great coffee shops. Maybe because there's some great churches around. Whatever that is for me, it's high likelihood that it's going to be for others as well. And here's the thing, every city, John, has these unique features, whether it's inland, whether it's coastal, whether it's mountainous, whether it's all somewhat older. All of them, every city has a unique feature, and there's a reason probably why you moved there. And here's the epiphany. Likely those reasons are the same reasons why thousands of people are moving there. So what I would do is I would create that video first to make sure there's a connection, but also because I want enough people to be able to relate to my story, relate to my desires. And ultimately, when there's a connection to your story or to a relation to similar desires, that is the foundational root piece of everything. And then from there, any type of content you put out with real estate, homes, community tours, all that stuff just plays a bigger part. Most agents go directly to just putting out content, when it comes to real estate. But because they haven't made a connection piece with their audience, all of that just becomes informational and not necessarily a spirit of reciprocity to reach back out to you per se.
Yeah, that's one thing you taught me was connection is very important. If you can't connect, then all of your other videos probably won't be even watched. So let me ask you this. Most agents think that views matter, and I've heard this so many times that, oh man, my video isn't getting enough views. And you and I both know views don't mean clients, right? We've seen big TikTok stars that actually make no money, but they have millions of followers. So what are the three signals you look for that tell you a video will actually generate leads, not just eyeballs?
I think comments are a part of it with YouTube, right? The moment I started seeing people's comments and they became kind of personal, right? People would start writing things like, "Oh my gosh, I can relate to that because I was thinking the same thing," or "those are similar to my experiences. In fact, when I was raising my children in this area, these were some of my concerns, and I can see that you had the similar concerns as well." Once you start seeing comments that are become a little bit more personal, then you know you're onto something. Then you know there's a connection piece. Because if there's no connection, they would have no desire to publicly write a comment or anything to be able to leave anything online that has anything to do personally. But the moment those personal comments become coming in, then I realized, wow, this is hitting notes. This is hitting a nerve, right? So comments do help. Views, I think with views, we have to be careful in real estate because ultimately our job in real estate, as far as content creation with YouTube, isn't necessarily ad money. It's to procure organic connections and clientele so that we can provide a service for real estate, right? And that doesn't always come in forms of thousands of views or tens of thousands of views or even hundreds of views. Sometimes it can come in the form of 10 views, but that one person is pretty serious about what they're searching for and what they're looking for and what they're seeing and hearing. So I would say views is a part of it though, because that's going to give you an idea that YouTube also agrees with you that it is becoming somewhat interesting for a certain group of audience. So to answer your question, I think for me, once those personal comments started coming in, I knew something was happening. And then when I started getting texts and emails that said, "I watched your video on YouTube and I needed to reach out." That's also another little Easter egg there to make sure you're putting out as much of your content information, whether it's on video or in the description below. So those are the 2 points for me was there was some views, but it wasn't that I needed hundreds and thousands of views, but I saw some traction that people are watching it and as well as the personal comments that are coming in. One thing that's nice about YouTube is that they will give you metrics and analytics on how much percentage of a video someone is watching. So if it's a 10-minute video and your average watch time is 3 minutes, that's about 30% of the video that they're watching. The longer I start, and you're never going to get 100%, right? But the longer you start seeing those watch hours or those watch percentages expand, then you're onto something. Now they're hanging on. It's like a film. When people stay to the end, it's because they were compelled enough by the beginning and the plot line that they wanted to see the ending. If you start seeing everyone drop out in the setting, then we're missing something there. So, but those comments were really beneficial for me. I saw those and I said, wow, these aren't just views. These are people. These are stories. And these are individuals and families that I need to connect.
Yeah. So for the listeners, Soomin, Kim, and I are business partners, and we have several partners that have joined under us that have had tremendous success. We've got Jordan Brown, just recently sold a $1.5 million deal straight from YouTube. He made over 45 grand just from that one deal from our exclusive YouTube training, as well as Bridget. She sold a house from within the first month of doing our training, which is incredible. But one thing that I've always heard you say is that consistency is important, but intentionality is even more important. And for the agents listing, what does intentionality actually look like behind the scenes?
I think to be intentional means you have to get a figure and a picture of who is watching your channel. And a lot of it has to do with self-awareness, right? A lot of it has to do with how you are being viewed. It's kind of like, it's like playing poker, right? When you talk to the best poker players, they're no longer just playing their hand. They're not even playing the other person's hands, trying to read someone else. They're trying to read the person on how that person is reading you. In other words, if you play, let's say, rock, scissors, paper enough, there comes a rhythm when you continue to go and go and go and go and go that you're no longer thinking about what you're going to do. You're thinking about what the next person's thinking that you're going to do and then trying to respond to that. So self-awareness goes as far as being a real estate agent that creates content is how am I being viewed, right? What is the type and character or the avatar of the person that's viewing me? And so once I realized, for me, for instance, I learned pretty quickly, John, that I'm not going to be the guy that is talking about downtown living, condo high-rise living, young professional living, going out and meeting new people and having a big social life in the downtown area of Austin every night. That wasn't me. I actually love some of that content because it was really exciting. It's downtown high rises and then being around areas and restaurants and clubs and 6th Street and things that people are going out meeting new people. That's not my life. My life is that I have 3 children. I've been married for, 16, 17 plus years. And so I realized very quickly the way I'm being viewed is somewhat that's probably someone that lives in the suburbs, perhaps, someone that is looking for a community to raise children, have a little pace in this age and the stage of life for these kids that mimics an area in a neighborhood. So the moment I realized, wow, that is how I'm being viewed. Some of these individuals that might be more attracted to other content might look at me like, that guy's old. That guy is not, you know what I mean? So the moment I realized how I was being viewed or being self-aware of where my place was in the content that I was given as it reflects my life, I can start to be very intentional about that. Truth is, when I started, I remember I started making some content about downtown living, some Airbnb type of investments and condos in downtown and being close to this, and this. And I realized pretty quickly it was straining me a little bit because first of all, I didn't live in downtown, Secondly, I wasn't necessarily attracted to that lifestyle because I had a different lifestyle in more of an expanding suburb area. So the moment I realized that, I was much more intentional about putting content out that had to align with how I live my lifestyle and not trying to put out content that maybe my lifestyle wasn't aligning to. The moment I was more intentional about that and I quote unquote niche down is when I started getting the results and the traction and a rhythm and a little bit of a flow state of the type of leads that were coming in. And you want that, John, because the truth is like once you play a part that is not authentic to maybe who you are, then even when you get those leads, it becomes a little bit strange. You're driving too far out. You're trying to look for research answers that you really don't know. But when you're in a flow state of people reaching out that's aligned to your lifestyle and how you're living, that becomes a lot easier. You're not strained because you're being able to respond out of authenticity. You're about to respond out of true testimony, and you're not trying to play a certain role. So I'm very intentional of how I am viewed. I am very intentional in being self-aware how people view me, and then I'm going to double down on that. And the beautiful thing in real estate is, regardless of what that is, maybe you are a young professional that lives in downtown, wants to be near many areas. Maybe you are a suburbs person that is raising children and wants to have a slower pace and pace of life. There's enough business in any niche. Even someone that just says, I want to live near next to golf courses. I'm going to just become the golf course real estate agent. If you can dominate that, there's enough there and enough business for anyone to be widely successful. It's one of the beauties of real estate is that there are just so many departments and niches.
Yeah. And here's one thing that I want the listeners to understand is that your videos and your success didn't just come from the videos. It actually came from the systems, the frameworks, and the training that you did behind the videos. So without revealing the sauce, what's one thing agents never think about that actually drives 80% of your results?
I think I love analogies, John. So I'll start with an analogy. I feel like it's like me going to a museum, and I love museums, right? It's like me going to, let's say, the Modern Art Museum in New York, right? I go there and see a beautiful painting. I'm like, dude, that painting is awesome. I'm gonna go home and paint that myself, you know? And so I go home and then maybe I take a picture of it and I go home and I just mimic it. Maybe I could even get kind of close. But one thing that I don't know is I don't know the foundation of the type of canvas was used, maybe the framework and fundamentals of what the artist was using as far as mixing the colors. I don't even know what paintbrushes they use. Maybe there was a technique of sketching things out that I don't know. I'm just looking at it saying, I'm going to try to copy that myself. And that's what a lot of real estate agents do. They say, Soomin, I saw your channel. You said them home tours. I started my own channel. I'm going to do that too. You know, I'm not getting the results like you. What am I? I'm like, you might have tried to mimic something. Like you saw me showing a home, then you thought, oh, I'll film it and show a home and we can just upload. But what you don't understand is, first of all, the dichotomy of keywording, SEO. You don't understand the psychology and the nuances of what I say when I say it. You know, and just like the artist that has spent hours on mastering some things and then puts an art piece out there for people to be like, I'm gonna paint that myself. I think it's I think there's some ignorance there that we can just mimic something because on face value you'll see one thing. And I think that what I see a lot of agents do, and maybe I've done it myself, the truth is I probably have, but you see something, you think you can mimic it, but you don't really know the basis, the foundation, the fundamentals, and quote unquote science behind how that was done and why it makes it effective. Because the truth is, John, if people have seen my stuff, it's not that high production. Like people think you can probably make higher production videos, probably better edited, you know, better music, better graphics, better all that stuff. But there is something that I was taught fundamentally, you know, with my partners, with the training systems that we have, that allow me to engineer it properly. And then through my own experience and some of our training that we have in our systems is that how to nuance videos to get call to action items and to get responses. And I've gotten enough calls from people that have said, I'm doing the same thing you did, Soomin, but I'm not getting any results. And it takes me about a minute to see the back end of it and maybe some of the things that they don't see themselves. So I would say, like anything, whether it's a professional basketball player, whether it's an actor, they tend to make things look easy, but we certainly don't know the fundamentals that go behind it to make it as effective or as effective as they make it out to be. So yeah, that's true. I think that it's not just a mimicking thing. There's a lot of stuff on the back end that simply cannot be seen from the front.
What's incredible about this framework and this training is that you've had clients close from videos that you posted 6 months, 12 months, even 18 months later, right? And so we're still getting leads from videos that we've done way long ago, right? And so guys,
I got a call yesterday from someone that saw a video that I made in my first year. So over 4.5 years ago, I filmed this video, but it happened to motivate someone to call me yesterday for a video I made 4.5 years ago. I mean, when's the last time you door knocked someone 4.5 years later? Like, by the way, I want to respond to that door knock from 4.5 years ago. You know, it doesn't happen, you know, but it happens when you do.
guys, I hope you're hearing what he's saying. This is learnable, it's repeatable, it works even if you're brand new, even if you have zero sphere, even if you feel like you're starting over, which a lot of agents sometimes do feel like when they're joining new brokerages. And obviously, we can't break down the entire framework on one interview, but this training was very powerful. And if you want to learn more about how Soomin Kim has sold over 87 deals in his first year, and even 4 years later, getting deals from videos he's done 4 years ago. I'd love for you guys to reach out. There's going to be a link below. Soomin, do you mind sharing one last bit?
I mean, it's pretty rewarding. I mean, the truth is, for most agents, this is their missing piece. You know, they have all the contract work, they have all the addendum work, they have all the protocols and functionalities of real estate, and they go out there and door knocking and cold calling and hosting open houses. But the area that they're missing is these efficient strategies. And John, just to be open, it's been so rewarding to watch a ton of agents, right? New agents in different markets that I've partnered with that we share the exact same training with, and they are kind of mini celebrities and very productive in a profession that doesn't bode well for success for new agents and especially anyone in a down market. So it's a passion to be able to share this type of strategy, especially for some of you that are out there and thinking, this is exactly what I'm missing. I got all the other stuff, but this is what I'm missing. It could be that third number to unlock that combo lock that's just been unopened.
Well, thank you so much, Soomin, for being on the video. And like I said earlier, if you want to learn more, we've got strategy sessions and a link below for a discovery call on exactly how Soomin, Kim, and so many other agents have received so much success from YouTube, from social media, and we'd love to see you on that call. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.